everybody. This is the Everyday Sewist, and I'm giving you a little look at how I am making my temperature quilt blocks today. So here is my quilt planner. It was from Moda Fabrics, and I have my 20 colors that I'm using. I'm separating it out by, I'll zoom in a little here, in 5-degree increments, and so you can see that I've got all my little swatches there. So when I am pulling my fabrics for this particular time, I got my temperatures off of Wonderground for the Indianapolis airport. It's a closest station to me. And I wrote those highs and lows down, used my little graph here. And so I've pulled these are 2-inch by 7-inch strips of each fabric. I've overlapped them slightly so that I can now slice them on a curve. And let's go ahead and do that. So I'm just going to take a gentle curve here and up and down, any which way, doesn't matter. And it could be straight, but it doesn't have to be straight. And see if I can get you a better angle on this. Just make my cut. I'm going through both layers. And there. So now I will just take away these extra pieces from underneath. If I didn't get it all the way, it'll come out. So then I'm left with, this is what I want to sew together, these pieces, just like this. So I'm going to take out all the extra bits from behind all of these and then sew them, and then I will trim it. I'll be right back. So I'm at my sewing machine, and I thought I would show you how I'm sewing my temperature blocks together. And my setup is that I'm just using a neutral colored thread. In this case, this is an Aurifil 2026, but it doesn't really matter as long as it's a neutral thread color. Since this particular batch of blocks is with the hotter colors, this white thread is going to be just fine. So I am going to go ahead and I'll show you how I sew these very gentle curves together on these next few blocks. So I'm going to line this up, and I'm going to have these tips just overlap a very tiny bit, and I'm going to sew along slowly, and I'm just going to make the top fabric line up with the bottom fabric, or vice versa. I'm not pulling on anything. I am just gently guiding the two of them together. If I need to stop, I can. And when I get to the end of this one block, I just try to line those edges up as best I can. And that's one done. And let me go ahead and I will keep sewing the rest of them. Just take your time with it. This same kind of gentle curve is very similar to the curve that I used in the shibori blocks that I demonstrated in my previous video. And I'm hoping that this time I've got a little better camera angle for you so that you can have a little better view of how those blocks actually sew together. And again, it's because these curves are gentle, I'm just guiding one fabric on top of the other edge. And I'm only looking a very short amount away from my needle. I don't have to worry about what's farther ahead. Just a couple more to go. I often do my temperature blocks in batches of 3, 4, 5. When I first started at the beginning of the year, I did one every day, and now I just find it easier to do a few at a time, because then I can chain sew them together. It goes a little faster. I'm not trying to pull on anything because I don't want those curves to stretch out. And last one, again, just making those tips just line up, very tiny bit of overlap. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to press these. And what I've decided to do is, since I sew each month as its own column, I will press, one month I will press all the seams going up. The next month I will press all the seams going down. And I alternate like that so that when I sew them together, they will nest nicely and they'll just fit together more easily. So now what I'm going to do is I just keep my little basket of leader enders here, and this is a different project, the one called Offset. And in order to take these out of my machine, I will just sew these two together and cut this off from behind, and it saves thread and saves a little bit of time, and then I get something else done at the same time. So I am going to cut these apart. I'm going to keep them in the same order, and I will show you then next how I trim these up to the size that they need to be. They're going to get trimmed to 2.5 by 6.5, and then I'll add them to my August chain. Next up is the trimming. I'm using a 2.5 by 6.5 inch ruler, but you don't have to have that. But I do find that that makes it easier, because then I don't have to think about what my measurements are. I know I'm just going to trim it to the size of the ruler. I do really like this rotating mat. I found this to be really cool. Just a really fun little accessory. Obviously also not needed, but pretty sweet to have. So I cut 2 sides, cut the other 2 sides. Remember to keep it in the right order and to keep the high temperature at the top and the low temperature at the bottom. Just a couple more. And then I will add these on to the earlier ones this month. Okay, so there's very little waste from this. I don't think that's too bad, but it does give you at least a little bit of leeway. And now I'm going to attach these to the rest of my chain, and I'll show you what it looks like when they're all together. So here is my August chain for right now. We are getting nearer and nearer to the end of August. And these are the blocks that I just added. And here's a look at the back where I have pressed all the seams up this month. And when I attach it to the rest of them, then those seams will nest a lot better, and they will, it'll just lay flatter, and I think that will help overall. Also, remember, if you do something like this, I put a pin in at the very top of the first of the month so that I don't get my order incorrect. And so keep that as a little reminder. And then I do the same thing on my biggest unit. I have my top January 1st pinned so that I know I have everything in the right spot. So here is the rest of it. And so those are all pressed down. These are all pressed up. And when I stitch these together, I will pin all of these together, and look how nicely they will nest together. It'll look really nice when it's sewn like that. Thanks for watching. I hope you found this video helpful on sewing very slight curves for the temperature block that I am using for my temperature quilt this year. Bye-bye from the Everyday Sewist.